to have a godfather like Tommy Lasorda is something special. What could you say about him as a godfather or as a father figure to yourself growing up?
Well, he was a huge influence, not only myself, but my dad as well, our family. I remember days where, he would come to the little league games, and then after we'd go to either my parents or grandparents' house, we'd have lunch, and he'd have me in the backyard, like, show me, what I need to do with my swing, or, my pitching mechanics, stuff like that. So he was always involved in our lives, and it was always like the biggest thrill, when he either came to town or we were going to go see him, and my grandfather was taking us up to Vero Beach. As a godfather, I mean, I've got 5 godchildren now, so like I understand not only my own children, but I try to have some influence with my godchildren as well, as far as letting them know that I'm there for them as well, to help out and whatever they need.
What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alex Lace, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. Joining me now, First Class Father, Alex Avila. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Well, thanks, Alex. I appreciate you having me here.
Just like this here, how many kids do you have? How old are they?
I've got two girls, and they're 8 and 6.
Okay, very cool. We going for the boy, or are you all done here?
No, we're all done. We're all done. One thing my wife told me when we got married, she's like, I want to be done having kids by the time I'm 30. So we got to work quick and had 2. We talked about 3, but with our schedules, 2 was about as much as we could handle at the moment. And I think with the kids being 8 and 6, we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and not really sure if I can go back to diapers at this point.
Yeah, I hear you on that. If you could, Alex, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Well, I've been playing Major League Baseball for the last 13 years, and been with Detroit, both Chicago teams, Arizona, and now with Washington. I was with Minnesota last year, and I've been playing baseball. It's been my career for the last 13 years, and it's been great, kind of living out my dream. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing the last few years.
Yeah, very cool. Obviously, you've been crushing it on the diamond there, but take me back here to the beginning then of your fatherhood journey. About how old were you when you first became a dad, Alex, and how did that kind of change your perspective on life?
Well, I mean, it's a huge change in your perspective, no doubt. I remember actually one of the first things, that's one of the first things right before we had Avery, my oldest, that my dad had told me as how much it would change your life, and how you'll really understand what love is once you actually hold your first child. And I have had numerous conversations with my dad about that, prior to our first being born. And I mean, he was absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of things that other parents tend to give advice on, whether it's your parents or friends of yours, and you really can never really quite understand until you experience it yourself. And that was absolutely one of the most, the most life-changing moment of my life. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, very well said. And what would you consider to be some of the top values, Alex, that your father instilled in you that you hope to instill in the girls growing up?
Well, I would say probably one of the top value that my dad instilled in me is discipline. He was my dad and my mom were strict with my brother and I and my sister, as far as making sure that we had our priorities straight as kids growing up before any of the fun things, and that kind of discipline led into a work ethic as well, developing that. And that is one of the reasons why I've been able to achieve my dream of playing baseball, because if I didn't have that type of discipline and work ethic going into trying to achieve this goal, the goal of mine of playing baseball, I would have never have done that. It would have been too difficult to try to do it without the type of discipline that he instilled in me. And that's one thing that I hope that I can, be able to not only show my daughters, but help them along the way to understand that it takes whatever it is that you want to do in life, that it's going to take discipline and a work ethic in order to achieve that. That it doesn't just come, by somebody handing it to you. And that's something that I've kind of dwelled on since they've been born.
Yeah, and you mentioned there discipline as far as work ethic and stuff like that. And I have 3 boys, and then I got my girl on the 4th try here, Alex. So one of the things that's difficult for me, one of the things that's difficult is my disciplining with my daughter. I'm getting better here. Just my wife's constantly getting on me because I'm very easy to give in. So it's a little difficult for me to transition from disciplining my boys and then to my girl. So what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad when it comes to your girls? Are you a spanker, timeout guy? How do you kind of handle discipline with them?
Well, I am the one that typically does discipline our kids most, because my kids they're usually with my wife all day, every day. And with me traveling here and there, for work, for baseball, the time that I am with them, they typically like to listen to me a little bit more than my wife. So that does kind of fall on me most of the time. But we've kind of used it all. I know, early on, as far as like spanking and physical punishment, we haven't really had to do any of that since for a while now. Our kids have been lucky; they listen most of the time. But usually, a lot of it has to do with, you just have to set consequences, for whatever their actions and decisions are, because right now they're at an age that they know what's right and wrong. And, whatever those types of consequences are, whether it's, they're going to get a spanking, or they're going to get, something taken away. Right now, everybody, my kids, they love watching their shows on their iPad. They like playing games on the iPad. So, that's a big thing in the house, where if, they can't, use the iPad for a certain amount of time or things like that. So they just have to know that there's gonna be consequences for the decisions that they make. And, so far it's been working, and they're pretty well behaved. But, there's always those times where, if I'm on the road, I'll get a call from my wife, they weren't listening to me here, or this or that. And, I get on the phone with them, and we got to kind of work that out. But, it's just, there just has to be consequences. If there are any consequences, then they test you.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And we use that technology as currency here, too, to get them motivated. It's crazy how it's flip-flopped. Back in the day, it was like your punishment would be coming inside the house and staying there. Now it's like we say, no, here, give us the technology, and you got to go outside the house. And that's the punishment, right. So. Yep. But you do mention there, I know you're on the road a lot, obviously playing Major League Baseball. And one of the things I talk about a lot, Alex, on this show is the fatherless crisis, where we have so many kids are growing up without a dad or a father figure. Yeah. And one of the things that they miss from that is that discipline portion that they don't, like I was a kid who grew up, wait till your father gets home. And if you don't have that type of threat or that discipline, it creates a lot of havoc, I think, in our society. So getting into what you do here now, playing Major League Baseball, what are some of the challenges of being a Major League Baseball player, playing at an elite level while being a dad?
Well, yeah, the biggest challenge is being away from them for periods of time. That's just that's part of the lifestyle. My whole family's been involved in baseball. So growing up, when I was a kid, my dad was on the road quite a bit. So I understood that lifestyle. And it was the same way. It was like, when my brother and I, when we were younger, when we'd get in trouble, same thing. It was, wait till your dad gets home. And that was like the had the biggest fear, set in, until when he got home. But it kept us in line. But the hardest part is being away and still trying to have that connection with them. And those, during those times when we're away and we're not together. Now with FaceTime and the technology we have today, it's much easier than it was before. Because I remember when my dad would be on the road for 2 weeks, where I'm trying to call his hotel room. So I'm calling the hotel, and, there's no cell phones or anything at that point. And if he's in there, you get to talk to him. If not, then, you got to wait till he gets back. But nowadays it's so much easier to stay in communication, and, which has been great, because I know early on I had a hard time leaving my wife and kids on the road when they were real young, when they were babies, and that really affected me for a little while. But that for me, that's been the hardest part. You get used to it, and I think as a family you figure out ways how to cope with that, and during our season, figure out ways where you can spend as much time as together as possible, even on the road. And we've been blessed with that lifestyle, so we're trying to use it to not only be together, but also educate. And because of it, our kids, they're very well traveled. They've seen probably a lot of things, and learned a lot of things that other kids maybe get to later in life. So it's tough, but at the same time, you try to use it as an advantage to help teach them, educate them, and give them something new to experience.
Yeah, Alex, I'm curious because I know you've been last 5 or 6 years here: Chicago, Arizona, Minnesota, Washington. Do you have like a home base, or do you relocate each time that you travel? I always wonder that with the players. Like, I mean, going from city to city now, do you guys have like a home base where the girls stay, or do you move to each city that you play for?
Yeah, usually now that they've been in school and they're older, my wife and I, we grew up in South Florida, and we have our families down there, so that's kind of like our home base. We live there during the off season. That's where we'll live when I retire. That's home base. And typically what we end up doing is once school's out, wherever we're at, they'll come for the summer until school starts again. And then at times we'll just kind of look between the school schedule and our baseball schedule, we'll try to match up their times where they might be able to meet me on the road or come to whatever city I'm at. And spend 3 or 4 days with us. But that's kind of how we've been playing it. They're usually there in Florida during the school year, and then we just kind of try to match up weekends, and when they have a Monday off or a Friday off, and then during the summer they come and hang out with me for the summer, and we have a great summer until school starts again.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a lot of fun for them. And one other thing too, Alex, that was different for myself growing up. I know, like, we played Little League baseball, and it was really just the one season. We played Little League, and it was over. Nowadays, baseball is a 365 travel teams, and all kinds of stuff is going on. So what kind of advice do you have for the parents out there whose kids are interested in playing baseball, taking it seriously, and hoping to go next level? How would you kind of tell the parents to steer the kids?
Well, I've had that conversation with a lot of people, because I've heard both opinions. Like, if they really enjoy playing and they want to play it all year round, some people may see that as not a good thing. They would rather have their kids be a little more well-rounded, play different sports, and gain that experience. I was a kid that played baseball year round. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't play other sports. So every once in a while, like, I might have played football here and there, but it was baseball for me. I loved it, and that's what I wanted to do. At the same time, like, my parents were always like, they never pushed me to play baseball. It was just, you're gonna, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel like you want to have fun with, and makes you happy, as far as playing with your friends, let's go do it. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, I feel like you don't want to push, as far as parents, your kids into going into a certain sport because you really want them to. You just have to make sure that they really enjoy it. That's something I go through with my girls now. They play tennis, they play soccer, they dance ballet. They have a lot of activities, and that's one thing me and my wife are constantly talking about every year when it comes to sign up the kids, for that activity. Is like, are they enjoying it? Talking to them, like, how much they're enjoying it. Do they want to keep doing it? And kind of really letting them kind of decide. And when they're playing, allow them to, have fun with it. Still, like we talked about earlier, still, try to instill that kind of discipline. Hey, if you're going to do it, we're going to do it the right way, and try to learn and get better at it. But at the same time, it still needs to be fun. I mean, that's one of my favorite memories as a kid is when I was playing t-ball, coach pitch. The best part of the day was getting the free soda after the game and going to whoever had a pool after the 9 a.m. game and jumping and having a little pool party. That was the best part about it. I can care less about the game, and it was just about hanging out with the friends. And that's something that you can't, you don't want to take that away from your kids. You want them to have that experience.
Yeah, very well said, and good advice there too, Alex. And I got to ask you about Tommy Lasorda. I know he's you have to have a godfather like Tommy Lasorda is something special. What could you say about him as a godfather or as a father figure to yourself growing up?
Well, he was a huge influence on not only myself but my dad as well, our family as a whole. But he, he was great. I got to spend a lot of time with him over the course of the mainly over the course of the spring, because usually they would come, there would be spring training in Vero Beach before they moved out to Arizona. But so I would see him every spring, whether it'd be in spring training or he'd come. Him and my grandfather were very good friends, and he would come down to South Florida and hang out quite a bit. He actually, saw quite a few of my little league games. And I mean, I remember days where he would come to the little league games, and then after we'd go to either my parents or grandparents' house. We'd have lunch, and he'd have me in the backyard, like show me what I need to do with my swing, or my pitching mechanics, stuff like that. So he was always involved in our lives, and it was always like the biggest thrill when he either came to town or we were going to go see him, and my grandfather was taking us up to Vero Beach. That was, I mean, for me, my brother, and my cousin, for the boys in the family that played baseball, that was the best thing in the world. And he was a huge influence on not only me but our family as a whole. And as a godfather, I've got 5 godchildren now, so like I understand not only my own children, but I try to have some influence with my godchildren as well, as far as letting them know that I'm there for them as well, to help out and whatever they need.
Yeah, really good stuff, Alex. And I know, listen, I've had Hall of Fame catcher Mike Piazza on the podcast here.
Yeah.
I know that it's a difficult position to play, and it takes a toll on your body here. So how much longer are you planning on playing professional baseball here? And what kind of plans or goals do you have beyond your baseball career?
Well, this is my 13th season. I'm 34 now, and I'm kind of old now for baseball. So I definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I've had a great career. I still kind of pinch myself that I've been able to do this for this long. But I definitely see myself staying within the game, doing something, whether it's on the media broadcasting side, or staying on the field with either coaching or managing or scouting. I love it. My entire family's been involved in Major League Baseball, from my grandfather to my dad. So I love the game, and to be honest with you, I can't imagine me doing anything else. And we'll see once I decide that I'm done playing, see what kind of direction I go into as far as where I want to stay involved with the game of baseball. I've made a lot of great relationships and friendships over the years, so I'm sure I'll be calling a few people once I decide to stop playing.
Yeah, I bet. All right, good stuff. Last thing I want to hit you with here, Alex. I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Well, the best advice I have is make sure you have great communication with your wife, as you're raising that child. Because for me, my wife has been like the rock of our family. Just the communication that we have between the two of us is, without that, everything else kind of breaks down, at least for us. We're constantly, every day, we're talking about the kids, doing this, doing that, talking about, the events of that day. So the communication between you and your wife is paramount, I think. And the other thing, I mean, is, enjoy it, because that's, when I look back at it now, my kids are 8 and 6, and when I look at my oldest, all I think about is like, man, I wish you were 4 and 5 right now. It's like people tell you it goes by fast, and at times you may think it's not going by fast when those kids are crying and you got to change diapers at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I would tell a lot of new dads that a lot of my friends and family that have become new dads over the last couple of years, enjoy it. Even the worst times of it, enjoy it, because you're going to wish that they're that age again once they become 8, 9, 10. So that's what I tell them all the time.
Yeah, very well said, Alex. It's been a lot of fun for me. I got to say, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thanks, Alec. I appreciate you having me on.